Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.
Shalom, shalom, Yasharal, Yahuda, grafted in Gentiles into the body for Mashiach. Listen, Hezekiah, song is entitled Jerusalem. I don't own the rights to this music. Yahuwah, I give you praise. I give you praise, Yahuwah. I give you praise. I magnify you. I glorify you. In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I render unto you the sacrifice of praise, the fruit of my lips, thanking you. Thank you, Yahuwah. Thank you, Yahuwah. In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, thank you, Yahuwah. Thank you for Yahusha, your salvation. Thank you for Yahusha, my kinsman redeemer. Thank you for Yahusha, my Torah guardian, my kinsman redeemer, my avenger. Yahuwah, I give you praise. Yahuwah, I thank you for me being redeemed through the blood of Yahusha HaMashiach. I thank you that I have received the witness. I thank you that you have chosen me. I am the called, the chosen. I give you praise because I've received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. The words that you gave to him to give to me, I have kept. I give you praise. I give you praise, Yahuwah. I give you praise, Yahuwah. I give you praise for this Yeshua, so great a Yeshua, this mystery that has been hid, the restoration of a people, a restoration of a kingdom in the Eretz, a restoration of a sovereignty that it is rule and run in righteousness. Yahuwah, I give you praise. Yahuwah, I give you praise. 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 Yahuwah, I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach that you will take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Yahuwah, I pray that the words that I speak would be ruach, would be spirit of truth and life, that it would reveal light to those who have an ear to hear, to the chosen. Yahuwah, I realize that everybody is not going to receive this Besorah. Everybody's not going to receive this Torah. And Yahuwah, I ain't chasing numbers. I pray that the word that you have delivered unto me by the Ruach HaKodesh to them, those that you have chosen to receive it will receive it. Yahuwah, I pray that I don't cause anyone to be turned out of the way. No one to come up lame. No one to stumble. No one to be taken out of the way. But Yahuwah, by your Ruach HaKodesh, I pray that I would, as your Moreh, as your elder, I pray that your word would be everything to your people. I pray for those that are in the Besorah of truth. I pray that you would quicken them, make them alive in this Besorah, this Torah of truth, that they would walk in agreement with this Besorah, this Torah of truth, that they would be sanctified and set apart, Yahuwah. I give you praise. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. You are my strength and my redeemer. Listen, Yasharal and Yahuda, grafted in Gentiles, this is what we are looking to. Right? If you're looking to establish yourself in this place, this land of your captivity, you've gotten it all wrong. If you're looking to flourish here amongst this nation, you've got it all wrong. For those who are the witnesses of Yahusha HaMashiach that have received the quickening, understand that we are looking to return to the place that Yahuwah has set aside for us. This is about the kingdom of Elohiym. This is about the kingdom of Elohiym and Yahusha. This is about them establishing this kingdom, this mystery, this thy kingdom come on the earth as it is in the Shamayim. By the Ruach HaKodesh in us, we reach those that Yahuwah has chosen, who he has ordained, who he has set aside to be pillars in his kingdom, who have received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, who stands on the Basora and the Torah of truth, and who walk in the Ruach HaKodesh. This is a kingdom message. And Yahusha is not, Yahuwah is not an Elohiym, an Adonai Yahusha that has this exclusive club. Yahuwah is inclusive to those who would receive his witness. If you are of the other nations, listen, you receive his witness, you're part of this kingdom, this return. If you choose to go, you may go to your own lands, because it's going to come to that. That's in the book. It's in the book. It's going to come to that. Hallelujah. 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 Listen, man of y'all, woman of y'all, we going in. I gotta continue to give you what Yahuwah has given me. I have to. I have to give it to you. I have to let you understand, right? Help you to understand what this is. Right? What this is. This is not what you have seen. This is not that. This is not what you have witnessed in the past. This is not that. Right? This witness of Yahusha HaMashiach and this Ruach HaKodesh, which you have seen in this Basora, in this Torah of truth that is recorded in Acts, this is what this looks like. Everything else is a fabrication. Everything else is a imitation, a copy. It ain't original, because it's not the Ruach HaKodesh. It's not the Ruach HaKodesh, right? The Acts of the epistles, the Acts of the apostles and the epistles, right, are the demonstrations of what this is to look like. The Acts is recorded and designed to give you what this looks like. This witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, the sacrifices that are required, what one must do, how you must fast and how you must pray, how you must seek the Ruach's guidance, right? And how the Ruach will let you know exactly what it is that it wants done. We're in Acts, the 15th chapter. And we left off in Acts, the 14th chapter. Paul having returned to Antioch and gotten with the brothers that originally laid hands on them, him and Barnabas, after prayer and fasting. And scriptures declared that the prophet said unto them, Yahuwah says to set apart Barnabas and Saul for the work that I called for them to do. Right? The work was to carry the Basora of truth, the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach to the Gentiles. Though they preached in the synagogues, right? And though some Jews received the witness and became disciples and converted, in Yahusha HaMashiach, it was the Gentiles that came out in numbers to receive this message, right, of this supreme Yahuwah Alua, this El Elyon above all other L's. They came out to see the demonstration of the power, something that they had not witnessed to the degree that they seen in Paul and Barnabas. This was the first missionary journey, the first time out, and they were straightened in Yahusha HaMashiach's witness. They were straightened, they were driven. They went forth in the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, having all that they needed to get the job done. And we see what that looks like, right? We see what that looks like. Now we're in the 15th chapter, right? And we're going to begin to see the wickedness of these Yahudim that wanted to exclude the other nations after having already witnessed them receiving the Ruach and believing on the name of Adonai Yahusha and receiving his witness, right? Now, Acts the 15th chapter, the first verse, and certain men came down from Judea. Some Jews came down from Judea, right? And taught the brethren, and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moshe, you cannot be saved. Unless you be circumcised after the manner of Moshe, right? You can't be saved. Now, when we look at circumcised, to understand circumcision, you don't go to Moshe, right? You go to Avraham, because the covenant was established with Avraham, right? So it's obvious that in some way, shape, or form, these religious Jews, right, did not know circumcision came from Avraham. They accept the manner of Moshe. And again, Moshe, right, reintroduced circumcision, as well as Joshua, Yahusha, right, because of the manner in which our people had allowed their customs and practices after having been in Mitzrayim, right, for almost 230 years, right? Been in Mitzrayim under this regime of pagans. The idea of circumcision kind of got away from them as people. But we know that circumcision was with Abraham, right? So these Jews, right, said, "Except you be circumcised," right? Now, let's look at Genesis real quick. Let's look at Genesis 15, right? And Genesis 15:1 says, right, after these things, the word of Yahuwah came unto Abram in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. I am your shield and your reward, right? And Abraham said, Adonai Elua, Adonai Elua, Adonai El Elyon, El Shaddai, right? What wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus? He says, you are my great reward, but I have nothing to leave it to. You are my shield and my exceedingly great reward, but in this reward I have no one to leave it to, except for Eleazar, who is my steward, right? And Abraham said, behold, to me thou hast given no seed. What's the benefit in exceedingly great reward and a shield if I have none to pass it on to? Right? For lo, one born in my house is not mine heir. The one that is born in my house, he ain't even my heir. He's not from my loins, right? He's not from Sarah, my wife. We have no children, right? 70 years old, right? I don't have nobody to pass an exceedingly great reward unto, right? Right? He says, and behold, the word of Yahuwah came unto him, saying, this shall not be thine heir. Eleazar of Damascus is not the one, right? And Ishmael is not the one. Right? It's not the one. He's not going to be the heir. Right? He's not born yet, but he's not even conceived yet, but he ain't going to be the one. Right? He says, listen, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth from thy bowels shall be thine heir. He shall be your builder and the maker of the family name. He shall receive the exceedingly great reward. Right? Right? Verse 5, and he brought him forth abroad and said, look now towards the Shamayims and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. Abraham, your seed is going to be as the number of the sands of the stars, right? Right? And he says, and he believed in Yahuwah, right? He believed him and counted it to him as righteousness, right? So here's Abraham, believed Yahuwah Elua, and it was counted unto him as righteousness, right? Right? And he said unto him, I am Yahuwah that brought thee out of the land of Ur of the Chaldeans to give thee this land to inherit. Brought you out the land of your father to bring you to the land of Chaldees to inherit it. Right? And he said, Adonai Yahu Elohiym, or Adonai Elua, Adonai El Elyon, El Shaddai, whereby shall I know that I inherit it? Right? And then he said unto him, take ye 2 heifers, right, 3 years old, and a she-goat 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove and a pigeon. And they'll offer a sacrifice. Because we about to enter into a covenant. Right? Covenant. And he took unto him all these and divided them in the midst of the pieces and laid each piece and so on and so forth, right? So the idea is that Yahuwah established a covenant, with Abraham, right? Right? With Abraham. Right, let's do this. Now let's go to Genesis, the 17th chapter, right? Right? Now, 17th chapter, the first verse. And when Abraham was 90 years old, now you know Yahud had already established a covenant with Abraham. 70 years old, right? 20 years has passed. And Abraham is still fully persuaded. Staggering not at the promises of Elohiym. And you know, listen, right? Yahuwah does a thing in order for you to understand it was him. You couldn't have done this on your own. Right? You couldn't have done it on your own. You couldn't have done it. Right? Now, we know that, right? We know that, right? In the 16th chapter, Abraham was given by Sarah Haggai. And Haggai produced Ishmael. Right? It's the 16th chapter, right? Of Genesis, right? And in the 17th chapter, Yahuwah has to clarify some things to Abraham, right? And when Abraham was 90 years old and 99 years old. So listen, he was 29, almost 30 years older. Right? 30 years. Right? Yahuwah appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am Almighty Elohiym, walk before me and be thou perfect. Right? Do what I tell you to do. Right? He says, and I will make a covenant between me and thee and will multiply thee exceedingly. Right? Now, Abraham heard this similar to, right, over 30 years ago. Right? Because he told me, look at the stars and that's how your seed gonna be, right? And he says, I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and Elohiym talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. Listen, Abraham, my covenant is with thee. And thou shalt be the father of many nations. Right? Many nations. Right? Neither shall thy name be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham. Right? For a father of many nations I have made thee. So every time they called his name Abraham, they were declaring him to be the father of many nations. Right? Right? He was going to be the father of many nations. He says, and I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Abraham. Right? Out of his seed. Out of Abraham's seed. Right? Because he already established, right? He says, and Abraham fell on his face and talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. Right? 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 You should be the father of many nations. Neither shall there be any more called Abraham, but thy name shall be Abraham. You won't be Abram no more, but you'll be Abraham. For the father of many nations I have made thee, right? Right? And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful. I'll make you exceedingly fruitful. Right? And I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Right? Kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed. Now, he said he's going to establish his covenant between him, right, and thee and thy seed, and thee after thee, and their generations for an everlasting covenant. So we know the seed is Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, right? But we also know that Ishmael, right, was Abraham's seed. We also know that Abraham had children by another woman, I think she's an Ethiopian woman, right? After Sarah produced seed, right? We know off of Ishmael or off of Yitzhak, after Yitzhak there was Jacob and Esau, right? Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. But he was Abraham's seed because he was Abraham's seed out of Yitzhak. Right, okay. So he says, I'm going to make an everlasting covenant to be the Elohiym unto thee and thy seed after thee, right? He says, and I will give thee, and I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou wert strangers, in the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be your Elohiym. So Canaan is ours. See, Yerushalayim, that song reminds me of the covenant that Yahuwah has established with Abraham, right? That covenant, which is the everlasting covenant that lasts throughout our generations. He said, for Elohiym said to Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed throughout thy generations. Right? And this is my covenant which you shall keep between me and thee and thy seed. Right? After thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. So that came from Abraham. Right? Every man child among you shall be circumcised. He says, this is the covenant which I shall keep, verse 10, between me and you and thy seed. So it's between me and you, and it's passed on, the same covenant, to thy seed. After thee, every man child among you shall be circumcised. Right? Then he also says, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskins, right? Right? The flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and thee. Right? So the circumcision was a token. It was a token of the relationship that was established with Elohiym, Yahuwah, and Abraham and his descendants. And it goes on to say, and he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among every man child in your generation. He that is born in your house, your sons, your sons, and those that are born in your house, Ishmael, right? Those that are born in your house, right? Those that are brought with money, those who have sold themselves that have been purchased with money, circumcised, right? Because they're in your house. They're under your rulership. They're under your supervision. You have brought them in under the covenant that I have with you and me. Therefore, they must follow the same procedure, right? Of thy strangers, you have brought with money from any stranger. So everybody that you purchased from the strangers have to be circumcised, right? Which is not thy seed, right? Which is not thy seed, right? He that is born in thy house and he that is brought with my money must need be circumcised, right? And my covenant shall be in your flesh. Now listen, you got to understand this. Right? You got to understand this, right? Because the seal of my covenant is going to be the sign in your flesh. He says, and the uncircumcised, no, he says, he that is born in thy house and he that is brought with money must need be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh. Right? It's going to be a seal. As an everlasting covenant, as an everlasting sign, as an everlasting identifier that you belong to Yahuwah Elohiym. Right? Right? And the uncircumcised man whose flesh or a foreskin is not circumcised, his soul shall be cut off from his people. Everyone that does not undergo this token, this seal, right, that establishes them in the kingdom or in the identified people of Yahuwah will be cut off. Right? Cut off. But it was a seal. Now, I want to look at something else, right? So we're talking about how in Acts they said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moshe. So he's talking about the manner of Moshe. Right? Manner of Moshe, right? So we look at let's go. Let's go to Rome. Is it Romans I want? Yeah, let's look at Romans. Right? Because we're trying to understand. Oh, no. Let's go to Exodus. Let's go to Exodus. Let's go to, let me see, let's go to Exodus. Let's go to Exodus, the 12th chapter. Right? Exodus, the 12th chapter. Right? Now we understand that circumcision was given to Elohiym as a covenant. Right? As a seal, as a sign, as an indicator that these people are Yahuwah's. Right? Everyone that is bought or sold, everyone that is a male child, whether it is of his seed or not, has to come under this covenant if they're going to be under Elohim's supervision. Have to participate in this covenant. Now listen, let's look at Exodus. Exodus, right? Exodus the 12th chapter. Let me see. Let's Exodus 12. Exodus 12. Let's look at unleavened bread, Passover. Let's look at Exodus. Let's look at Exodus 4. Let's go 43. Exodus 12 and 43. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe and Aaron, right? Right, because this is the Passover, right? This is the ordinance of the Passover, right? Because you know Pesach, Passover, right? There shall no strangers eat thereof, right? Strangers are those who aren't in covenant with Yahuwah's people. Those who haven't received circumcision. Okay, now let's go. Right? But every manservant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. He participated in the covenant. Right? Man that bought with money. right? Those who are, right, wasn't circumcised that became circumcised, right, as it was stated in Avraham, right, right. Those who become circumcised can participate in Pesach because it's Yahuwah's Pesach, Yahuwah's Passover, right, and they've entered into a covenant with Yahuwah, right. They've entered into a covenant with Yahuwah. They're in contract. They've come under Yahuwah's covenant, right? He says, a foreigner or a hired servant shall not eat it, right? Why? Because they haven't been circumcised. Because they haven't come under the covenant, right? In one's house shall be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh out of thy house, right? Neither shall thou break, neither, out of the house. Neither shall ye break the bones thereof. And that goes to reference Yahusha Hamashiach and how he was on the cross and he was a lamb, right? That was offered up. But you weren't to break his bones because he would be a lamb that had blemish, right? So that's why when they pierced him in his side, they didn't break his legs, right? That's what that refers to. Now, he says now, right? All the congregation of Yasharal shall keep it because they have a covenant. All the congregation of Yasharal should have been circumcised, right? Because they have the covenant, right? It's a sign, it's a token, right? And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover of Yahuwah, right? Let all his males be circumcised. Because in order to participate in the covenant, you have to be circumcised, right? With the circumcision, right? It was an outward sign. It was a seal. It was an indicator of having participated in this covenant that Yahuwah had established, right? Now, this is strangers. These are Gentiles. These are proselytes. These are those who had become proselytes, right? But they were strangers, foreigners of the other nations, and they got circumcised, right? Now, the whole dilemma that Paul was dealing with was these Judaizers that were trying to fulfill the law, right? Trying to fulfill the law. Right. So we have here, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover of Yahuwah, let all his males be circumcised, and let them come near and keep it, and he shall be as one born in the land. Strange salvation. Strange Yeshua, strange salvation. Strange salvation. It was never exclusive. Envy brought exclusivity. Envy. It was never exclusive. Yahuwah had them to go and destroy nations before them because they were wicked, and he knew that they weren't going to receive him. But, those that did receive him and entered into the covenant with Yahuwah, right? He said, listen, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Pesach of Yahuwah, let all his males be circumcised, and let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one born in the land, for No uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Right? Right? He said one law, one Torah, for those that are born in the nation, right, of Yasharah, and unto the strangers that live among you, that have received circumcision. Now, they're still strangers. They're still foreigners. But they can live amongst them and participate in the kingdom of Yahuwah and Elohiym because of their obedience to keeping circumcision. Right? 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 For thus did the children of Yahweh as Yahuwah commanded them, and Moshe, right? Commanded Moshe and Aaron. They did it, right? 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 And it came to pass the self-same day that Yahuwah did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Mitzrayim by their armies. Okay, so circumcision, right? Right, circumcision, right? Let's look at, I should go into Joshua. Let's do this. Let's go into Joshua, the 5th chapter. Right? Right. Now, here we have Joshua getting ready, because they're getting ready to cross Jordan. They're going to cross over Jordan, because now they got to go in and subdue. Right? They've been wandering around in the wilderness for 40 years. Now the time has come. You know, that previous generation had died off. Let's go on. And it came to pass that when the king of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that Yahuwah had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Yasharah until they were passed over it, that their hearts melted. Because they felt like, you know, as long as we got the Jordan River and between us and them, we good. But as soon as that river was made open to the children of Israel to come over in the numbers, the armies that they were, and the fact that they had conquered on that side, right? Everybody was catching wind of Yasharah. Their hearts melted, right? And at that time, Yahuwah said unto Yahusha, make thee a sharp knife, and do what? Circumcise again the children of Israel a second time. So, you know, there was a circumcision that occurred, right, prior to the 40 years. Right? Had to set it up, set it right, get it in order. Circumcise everybody's male circumcised, everybody of the other nations, strangers. Come on, we read it. Circumcise. Right? But now, during the wandering of the wilderness, Yahuwah raises up another generation. Right? That hadn't been circumcised. When Yahuwah already gave command to circumcise. On the 8th day. Right? He already told them what to do. Right? 40 years. Right? They weren't even allowed to be numbered amongst the people, not having received circumcision. But Joshua had to circumcise them again before they went into battle. See how disobedient these people were? The generation that died off, that came out of Mitzrayim, was disobedient. You already told them that they needed to circumcise their children. Abraham, it was established. It was brought back to their attention. They needed to circumcise. Yet they were rebellious and stiff-necked and didn't listen. They were disobedient. At the time Yahuwah said unto Yahusha, make thee a sharp knife and circumcise again the children of Israel a second time. The whole kit and caboodle of them. Line them up. Men, children. Right? From 8 days old up until 40 years. Listen. And Joshua made a sharp knife and circumcised the children of Yasharal at the hill of the foreskin. So you know when you circumcise the skin, it comes up towards the top, and it's like the top of the hill, right? Well, it's top of the hill, but you circumcise it, right? Because I remember when I had my son circumcised, he was circumcised the 8th day, right? And I did it just because I just felt like I was supposed to do it. You know, I had a Jewish doctor. And, you know, I was like, I want to get my son circumcised. He said, well, we'll get him in here on the 8th day. And my son was circumcised, right? And I can remember, see, I was circumcised as a child, so, I didn't really ever know it was never, but when I seen my son, I was like, oh, okay. Then I seen how he circumcised him, right? And it was funny because he was a little baby, right? My wife couldn't look at the time. And, he had what is it called? The hill, right? And the doctor put this plastic thing over top of his, of his male parts, right? Male part. And it's funny because he took a string, right? And they took that string because there was this plastic thing around it, and they took that string and they squeezed that string and pulled it, and my son screamed like you wouldn't believe. But after that string was pulled through, the foreskin was off, right? And then, we had that plastic thing on there that kind of kept the skin where it was supposed to be, right? It was this plastic piece. And, we just had to take care of it on a daily basis, because, he's a baby, you had to clean him, right? But everybody got circumcised, right? And this is the cause why Yahusha did circumcise all the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war died in the wilderness. Right? By the way, after they came out of Egypt, right? Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but, right? All the people that were born in the wilderness, by the way, that came forth out of Mitzrayim, them had not been circumcised. Everybody that left Egypt was circumcised. He says, all the men of war died in the wilderness, by the way, after they came out of Egypt, right? He says, now all the people that came out were circumcised. All the people. The mixed multitude. Oh, yeah, they had to be circumcised if they was coming out. All right, so we understand that circumcision was even done again by Joshua, right? Everybody, right? So now you kind of like get an idea, like, okay, so, here's these Jews in Acts the 15th chapter, because, everything that I've read, right, would lend to the support of the need for these people to be circumcised, right? Right? You would think, right? Right? And not to circumcise them was a violation of the Torah, right? But we understand that circumcision in of itself was a sign. It was something that we as the Yahudim had to do because Yahuwah had a covenant with us that established us as a people. Right? Right? But now we have the Gentiles. Right? The other nations. Right? Who's received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yeah. Believed on him. Been healed by him. Right? Healed by him. Received the witness. baptism, the blood, and the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? And the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? And now these Jews saying to them, look, man, you ain't saved unless you circumcised. Right? Now listen, we can go back to the place in Acts where Peter was in Joppa, in the house of one Simon the tanner. Right? And he was hungry, and he was on the rooftop, and he saw the sheet descending out of the Shamaim on 3 times, right? 4 corners, with all manner of unclean beasts. And again, like I said, in the scriptures, in the original covenant, oftentimes beasts or different types of beasts were referenced to the Gentiles and the nations, right? So you got all these unclean beasts coming up. And Yahuwah said, slay and eat. Peter said, look, I ain't never allowed anything unclean to touch my lips. He kept Torah. Right? Yahudim. It just was what we did. We didn't eat unclean things. It was a bunch of part of us that, it was what we did. Now, we eat pigs, we eat shrimps, we eat lobsters, we eat clams, we eat catfish. We eat with them little red things they be eating down in Louisiana, crawfish, we eat little cockroaches. Listen, okay, so, right, we understood. Peter understood, right? But here, he has this vision. He's just a vision from you. Right? Told him to do it 3 times. If I was knocking the door, Peter comes down. And Yahuwah says, listen, there's people there to meet you. I need you to take them in and listen and recognize that I've sent them to you. Oh, yeah. So Peter oh, yeah. We've been sitting here by Cornelius to come to send for you from Caesarea because Yahuwah told him to come and tell you to come. And, okay, Peter brought him into the house. And on the next day, they left and went to Caesarea. Him and 6 other brews. And they end up in Caesarea at Cornelius' house. And Cornelius had a whole bunch of Gentiles there, families and friends. They were all there, right? And Peter entered into his house, right? And Peter says, okay, now I understand what the vision is, right? What's the vision, Peter? Now I understand what the vision is. Vision, I got it now. And then as Peter began to preach, because the Cornelius told him what the Spirit of Yahuwah told him to do, and after he said that, Peter says, now I know for sure that Yahuwah has called me to do this. And he began to preach Yahusha's witness. And before he can even get through the sermon, the Ruach HaKodesh fell on him like he did on the apostles in the same manner as in the day of Pentecost. These Gentiles. These uncircumcised people. Afterwards, Peter was like, oh, yeah, well, we can't forbid these people receiving baptism. Right? Right? They've received the witness. Here we go. Stay with me now. They received the witness. Right? They didn't get circumcised. So why were they free from the command of being circumcised? Because the proselytes did it. Because the proselytes, they were in the synagogue at that time when Paul was preaching. And, they asked him, hey, he stood up, okay, after having read the Torah in the synagogue on the Shabbat, right? Had the Greeks, and you had the proselytes, and you had the Jews in the temple. Synagogue. Ask Paul, you got any words? Paul preached the word, and the Gentiles was like, yeah, we need to hear that again on the next Shabbat. The Jews like, yeah, man, it's good job, it's good words, The Jews and the proselytes. Oh, good job. Yeah. But then when the Shabbat came around, they got envious. Because this is ours. This belongs to them. Even the proselytes, this is ours. I became circumcised to get this. I keep the Torah. I have the sign in my flesh. I have the seal in my flesh. Yeah, I have the mark in my flesh. I'm a part of this covenant. Right? Part of this covenant. Okay, let's go on. Right? Except you be circumcised. Still verse 1 of the 15th chapter. After the manner of Moshe, you cannot be saved. You can't be saved. Can't be saved. You can't receive Yeshua. When it has already been demonstrated that the Gentiles received Yeshua because Peter confirmed it. And the six that was with him confirmed it. Yeah, look, it's on them just like it was on us. I witnessed it. They received Yeshua. They didn't have to be circumcised. Oh man, they don't have to be circumcised. Receive Yeshua. The Greeks, they Gentiles. But in the original covenant, they had to. Why is that? It's a different seal. Oh, y'all don't hear me. It was a different seal. It's a different seal. The seal was in the flesh. But the seal is in the Ruach HaKodesh, in the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. See, because now the covenant is not violated, it's fulfilled. And Yahusha HaMashiach is fulfilled. The covenant is fulfilled. Listen. Circumcision is still something that we commanded to do as a people. Listen, let's go. Let's go on. He says, when therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small discussion and dispute with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go to Jerusalem unto the apostles and the elders about this question. You got a problem with this, Paul and Barnabas? You Jews. You know the law. You know how Yahuwah commanded Moshe, right? Everybody had to be circumcised to receive Yeshua. You know the law. How circumcision was essential. We had to do it. Right? Folks was circumcised having left Mitzrayim. And wandered for 40 years and died in the wilderness because in their circumcision they still were a people of disobedience. Circumcision, Korah, and those who followed them were swallowed up, killed, destroyed, right? They were circumcised. Because circumcision is an indicator of a covenant that's established in the flesh, but Yahusha Mashiach, right? Does not negate the covenant. No, doesn't mean that we don't circumcise Yahudim. Doesn't mean that we don't circumcise our kids. Because that's a part of the covenant that Yahuwah has given to us as a nation of people. But see, these Gentiles, it's not like they have the circumcision of the heart. Y'all don't hear me. So, here Paul and Barnabas has got to go explain this. Why is it necessary for these Gentiles to have to cut their flesh and establish the law, right? When Yahusha HaMashiach has already set his seal in them, having received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, they've been baptized, they've received the Ruach HaKodesh, and they have received the blood of atonement of Yahusha HaMashiach. Tell me why. They're already saved if they continue in that which they have received. Right? So, Paul and Barnabas and certain of the others of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and the elders about this question. Right? This question. See, the Gentiles really can't have a covenant with the Lord like that. They didn't have anything that was throughout their generation. Right? Now, in order for them to participate in the feast days and the things that Yahuwah had commanded, they had to have that seal, that outward seal, because none of them had the Ruach HaKodesh. None of them. The Ruach HaKodesh hadn't been given like that. Yahuwah put his Ruach HaKodesh on Moshe at times, right? Put his Ruach in Joshua, right, to do what he did, right? Put his Ruach in Shimshon, right? Samson, right? When he needed it, right? But listen, circumcision alone didn't save nobody, even under the original covenant. It identified us. It sealed us. Everybody knew we was Yahudim because, if we was a male, we had our foreskin cut. Oh, yeah, Hebrew. Yahudim. He follows the practices and the customs of the Torah. Right? But these Gentiles, they don't. They serve the elves. Jupiter and Mercurius. Diana. All the rest of them served these other elves. They didn't have a covenant with you. And here they received the witness of Yahusha, received the blood and the baptism and the Ruach HaKodesh, and they squared. It's a strange salvation. All right, so here we go. So, right? And being brought on their way by the assembly, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles. So they preach. We got Gentiles that have received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, right? And they caused great joy unto all the brethren. They made everybody excited. Got the Gentiles, they're receiving Yahusha HaMashiach. Hallelujah. Yeah, hallelujah. Right? Gentiles. And again, no doubt there were some of them that are Hebrews because, they knew that why people were scattered, right? But these people were also of the other nations, right? So, and being brought on their way by the church through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles. And they caused great joy unto all the brethren, right? Right? Caused great joy to all the brethren. And when they are come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church of the assembly and the apostles and elders, and they declared all things that Elohiym had done with them. See, look, we got Gentiles with us, disciples, who have received the witness of Yahusha and Mashiach, been baptized, received the blood of the Yahusha, and received the Ruach HaKodesh. Now this is what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened as we traveled, right? And there arose certain of the sect of the Pharisees. Now here you got these Pharisees, these religious, wicked Jews, right? You know, they rose up, right? Which believed, saying, now here's these Pharisees, right? Now they believed in Yahusha and Mashiach, but they were still Pharisees. They believed, right? These believing Pharisees, right? That it is needful to circumcise them. And to command them to keep the law of Mosheh, right? See, now Paul's approach to the law, right, and the teaching of the law, as you read his epistles, he taught them that they needed to not fornicate, not covetous, not do any of the things that they used to do. And they had to live by that, right? Because that was the only way they was going to receive Yeshua. He never outwardly said you have to keep the commandments. I mean, not like we were told in Yukonon and as Yahudim, right? Because that was our culture, right? But Paul still taught them that they needed to do what was right. Keep the commandments, right? So he says, and the apostle elders, but there arose certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, right? These believed on Yahusha Mashiach and his witness, saying that it is needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Mosheh. And the apostles and the elders came together for to consider the matter. Now, the Pharisees wasn't there to consider anything. They were there just to tell you what they thought. But the apostles of Yahusha Mashiach, the pillars of the assemblies, right, and the elders that were pillars in the assembly came together. And unlike it was before Yahusha Mashiach, because, you know, it was everything that the Pharisees said was law. Yeah, it was law. Even if it was wrong, it was law, right? So, and when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, Men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago Elohiym made choices among us, that the Gentiles by the mouth should hear the word of the Besorah and believe. Come on, you remember that I told you my experience and how they needed to hear the Besorah of truth, right? And Elohiym, which knows the hearts, bore them witness, giving them the Ruach HaKodesh, even as he did us. Listen. Yahuwah know what he doing. He gave them the same Ruach HaKodesh as he gave us. Right? He says, listen. And put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts. Listen, let's do something real quick. Let's look at Romans. Right. Now, When you understand the outward seal of circumcision, then you will understand how the ruachal seal of the circumcision of the heart does not negate the outward circumcision, but it fulfills it. It establishes it, right? And if you're established in the witness and are circumcised of the nation, you're established in the witness. If you're established in the witness and you're a Gentile and have not received circumcision, you're still established in the witness, because it is the witness of Yahusha Mashiach and the Ruach HaKodesh that quickens and gives life. It is the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. Listen, let's go. Let's start at the first verse. We're going to get through this pretty quick. He said, and what shall we say that Abraham, our father, as pertaining to flesh, have found? What Abraham pertaining to the flesh? Circumcision. Abraham. Because, the covenant came with Abraham. Even though the Jews brought in the covenant with Moshe, Paul's like, look, we got to go all the way to Abraham. Right? For if Abraham was justified by works, he had wherewith to glory, but not before Yahuwah. Right? So Abraham, right, was not justified by works of good works. Everything that he did was good. Right. Because if it was about Abraham, then there's no need for Elohiym Yahuwah. Right? But it was Yahuwah that justified Abraham. Right? Right? He said, for what saith the scripture? Abraham believed Elohiym, and that was counted unto him as righteousness. So Abraham released his emunah and obeyed Yahuwah, and it was counted unto him as righteousness, right? Now to him that worketh is the reward not reckoned of grace but debt, which means that when you're working for something, you're getting paid, right? But if someone gives it to you and it comes as a result of what they do because of the goodness of their heart, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the person who did it from their heart, right? It's not a debt. You ain't worked to get it, right? He says, but to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifies the ungodly, him that believeth on him that justifies the ungodly by faith is counted as righteousness. So listen, right? Paul preached the Besorah, the witness, to the Gentiles. The Gentiles had emunah to receive that witness, right? With that witness came healing. With that witness came deliverance. With that witness came casting out devils. With that witness, which came Yeshua, right? With that witness. It came because they believed in what the word that what the Apostle Paul had delivered. It had nothing to do with them keeping a law or keeping a Torah, right? Now, right? Even as David also described the blessedness of the man whom Elohiym imputeth righteousness without works, right? Blessed, right? Yahuwah considers you, because you believe him, you are blessed. And he gives you righteousness because of him and having nothing to do with you, right? But you have had to have believed him, right? And Yahuwah demonstrates his love to you because you believed him, right? Okay, so he says, saying, blessed are those whose iniquities are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed, whose iniquities forgiven, and whose sins are covered. The witness of Yahusha HaMashiach brought the forgiveness of sin. It took away iniquity, right? It was a righteousness that came as a result of Emunah having received the witness. And the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the witness to everything that Yahusha has done. It testifies of it, right? He says, blessed are those whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man whom Yahuwah will not impute sin, right? Because of the witness. Listen, the only way into Yeshua, the only way into the family, the only way into the kingdom, it's still by the witness, right? There is no entrance into the kingdom with having received circumcision alone, because circumcision, right, after they had left Mitzrayim, didn't change who they were in their hearts. They still died in the wilderness because they was a wicked and stiff-necked generation. So it wasn't that they kept the law that saved them, right? Right? It was believing in Yahuwah to be the deliverer that he had said he was. And because they didn't believe him, they died in the wilderness having been circumcised. Blessed is the man in whom Yahuwah will not impute sin. Yahusha HaMashiach's witness took away our sins and nailed it to the cross. His blood sprinkled on the altar in the Shamayim made it possible for us to receive the witness in its entirety. And therefore now, because he lives on the inside of us, right, we have the capacity to live free from sin, right? There is no need for an outward sign if you are a Gentile. Now the Yahudim have a perpetual covenant. We are a nation of people who Yahuwah gave us instructions, right? But even if we just get circumcised and don't receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, that circumcision don't profit us anything. Let's go on. He says, cometh in blessedness then upon the circumcision only? No. Or upon the circumcision also? Yes. For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness. So, Abraham obeyed Yahuwah, right? His obedience was demonstrated in what he did, right? He believed Yahuwah's promise that he would be the father of many nations, right? The circumcision act was a seal, an identifier that established him as the people of Elohiym. But the promise was received because he believed it. He believed that he would be the father of many nations, according to that which was spoken unto him. And so shall thy seed be, and being not weak in faith, Abraham considered not his own body now dead when he was yet 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of Elohiym through circumcision. No! He staggered not at the promises of Elohiym through unbelief, but was strong in faith. Emunah. He believed Yahuwah. The Gentiles believed the witness. And because they believed the witness, they were established in that Emunah, and they became sons. They became grafted in. And circumcision wasn't required. He says, cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? For we say that faith is reckoned by Abraham and Emunah in righteousness. Righteousness. He believed, Abraham believed, and it was his righteousness, right? That's why, obedience to the Torah, right? Obedience to the Torah is a demonstration of the righteousness of Yahuwah, right? But you have to believe the Torah in order to obey it. You had to believe the Torah is the word of Yahuwah and that it works. Listen, how was it then reckoned? When he was in circumcision or uncircumcision? Abraham received the covenant and the promise when he was 70 years old. He believed Yahuwah. Genesis 15. All these things, the word of Yahuwah came unto Abraham in a vision. Fear not, Abram, for I am thy shield and thy great reward. And Abram said, Yahuwah Adonai Yahuwah, right? Adonai Eluah, what wilt thou give me, seeing that I go childless, and the steward of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, behold, thou hast given me no seed, right? And lo, one that's born of thine house is not my heir. Right? What did Yahuwah say? Abraham. And behold, to me thou hast given me no seed, right? And behold, the word of Yahuwah came unto him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir, right? And he brought forth him and showed him the stars, skies and heavens. It says, and Abraham believed in Adonai, Yahuwah. 15th chapter. When Abraham was 70 years old, he received the promise. He believed the promise. He believed the promise before he was circumcision, before he was circumcised. The promise was because he believed the Lord. You go to the 17th chapter. The 17th chapter picks up where he's circumcising everybody. Him and Ishmael. And everybody. But the promise came to him before he was circumcised. Let's go back. Let's go back to Romans. He says, how was it then reckoned? When he was in circumcision or uncircumcision? The promise came to Abraham when he was uncircumcised. And then it wasn't until 30 years later that he received the circumcision. Because he believed Yahuwah. He believed him. In spite of not having had a seed, he still believed him. Listen. He says, and he received the sign of circumcision, a seal. A seal of the righteousness of the faith which he had yet being uncircumcised. Right? Right? Now, I'm going to take you somewhere else. Let's go here. We're going to go here. Right? Yep. We're going to go here. Right? Circumcision was a seal that Yahuwah gave to him because he believed. Ephesians 1:12. And that we should be to the praise of his glory who first trusted in Hamashiach. We believed in Hamashiach. Right? Believed in Hamashiach. Now he's talking to the Gentiles. Believed in Hamashiach. Right? in whom also ye trusted after ye heard the word of truth. Abraham trusted in Genesis 15 after he heard the word of Yahuwah that pointed him to the Shamayim and told him that his seed would be as the sands, and he believed Elohiym. And in the 17th chapter, Yahuwah gave him the seal of circumcision, right, as a sign. Okay, now stay with me. And whom also ye trusted after that ye heard the word of truth, right? Just like Abraham, right? The Basora of your Yeshua, Abraham received the Yeshua, right? The promise of his seed being kept. The promise of his seed returning to his land. The promise of his seed inheriting the promise, right? And whom also that after that ye were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh promise. Hallelujah. I give you praise, Ruach HaKodesh. Listen. The Gentiles didn't need to be circumcised because they received the seal of the Ruach HaKodesh, having believed the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. Listen. He says, in whom after that ye believed, you were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh promise, which is the earnest of your inheritance. Circumcision was the earnest. Was the earnest of the inheritance of Abraham. It was the earnest. It was Yahuwah's sign. It was Yahuwah's seal. It was Yahuwah's seal to his people. Circumcision was important for us because it was a seal. It was identify us as his people. It was a seal. We still had to believe him. We still had to believe in the Torah. We still had to keep the Torah. We had to believe and keep the Torah. Which is the earnest of our inheritance till the redemption of the purchased possession unto the praise of his glory. Listen, there's nothing new under the sun. Listen, there's nothing new under the sun. Let's go back to Acts 15 chapter. He says, and, right? And when there was much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago Elohiym made choice among us that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the Basora and believe. And Elohiym, which knoweth the hearts of men, because Yahuwah chooses people. He don't choose everybody. But he's got them amongst the other nations that he's chosen. Because he chooses whom he wills. And they receive the witness. And Elohiym knoweth the hearts and bear them witness. Bore them witness. By giving them the Ruach HaKodesh as they gave us, as he gave it to us. And put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts with faith in Emunah. Put no difference between them. Listen. The Gentiles kept the law as long as they maintained the purification of their hearts in the Ruach HaKodesh and giving themselves to the Torah and the Basora of truth. They didn't need the seal that we had. Because in the end, at the end of the day, you can still be circumcised. and maintain the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. But you can't maintain the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach and leave Yahusha HaMashiach and go to circumcision and start trying to keep the law apart from Yahusha HaMashiach. You lost. You're going to lose. Listen. He said, putting no difference between us and them. Put no difference between us and them. Purifying their hearts with faith. He says, now therefore, why tempt ye Yahuwah? Listen, Bruce, why you tempting Yahuwah? Denying these Gentiles access into your assemblies. Telling them, we can appreciate you, but we don't really want to have you now because our people got so much trauma. Listen, how you going to deny them access? Why you going to tempt Yahuwah? Go tempt Yahuwah and go follow the curse. I'm telling you. He says, listen. Therefore now, why tempt ye Yahuwah and put a yoke upon the necks of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? Listen. They came out of Mitzrayim, everybody circumcised. And they still died in the wilderness. Couldn't do it. Without the Ruach HaKodesh alone. Yeah, we still maintain the covenant as Yahudim, right? But the Gentiles ain't got to do that. Because they received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. They believed. And they sealed. Just like we sealed again. We were sealed in our flesh, and now we're sealed in our hearts. Because Yahuwah and Yahusha lives in us by the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the seal of our inheritance. It ain't rocket science, man of Yah, woman of Yah. But it's Ruachally revealed. Yahuwah reveals these things by his Ruach HaKodesh. Now, therefore, why tempt ye Yahuwah? Bruce, why are you tempting Yahuwah? Just like these Hebrews who, for all intended purposes, they were just trying to maintain what they had established as under Moshe, but originally under Avraham. They didn't even go all the way back to Avraham, where it was first established. Avraham was a man of righteousness, chosen of Yahuwah because he believed him before he was ever circumcised. Circumcision became a symbol to identify us as his people. And everybody that wanted to identify with Yahuwah had to be circumcised. Right? But the mystery is, as Yahusha was restoring the kingdom, and in his restoration of the kingdom, right, he didn't destroy circumcision. He didn't eliminate circumcision. He just made a people not have to receive an outward sign. He was just going to give them the inward sign. So it was just a fulfillment of circumcision. Peter says, and Elohiym, which knoweth the heart, beareth them witness, giving them the Ruach HaKodesh, even as he did us. And he said, then put no difference between us and them, right? Purifying their hearts by emunah. He said, now therefore, why tempt ye Yahuwah, and put a yoke upon the necks of the disciples? Why are you going to do that? Why are you going to put a yoke on these Gentiles' necks? And you're going to try to put a yoke on Paul and Barnabas' neck. Why are you going to do that? They can't. Our fathers couldn't even our fathers didn't even obey. Right? But we believed that through the grace of Adonai Yahusha Hamashiach, we shall be saved even as they. We believe the same thing. Because we received the same revelation, same witness. They received the same witnesses we received. Then all the multitude kept silent and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders, because they were doing signs and wonders. Now, it's not recorded in the book of Acts, but they were signs and wonders, because this is what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Gentiles grafted in to the body of Hamashiach. Welcome into this witness of Yahusha Hamashiach with the Ruach HaKodesh. It's not an exclusive club. It's not a Yahudim club. It's a Yahusha Hamashiach, Yahuwah, Ruach HaKodesh thing. And if you received the witness, you are welcome. He says, then all the multitude kept silence and gave the audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders Elohiym had wrought among the Gentiles by them. We're going to stop there. Yahuwah, in the name of Yahusha Hamashiach, I pray that the words that you have given me to give to them, that they would receive them and they keep them. Yahuwah, I pray that the revelation of the Torah, the Besorah of truth, would be made real in their hearts. Yahuwah, that you would quicken, make alive those who are under sound of my voice that need the Ruach HaKodesh. That you would quicken them to this Besorah, this Torah, and you would make them alive. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yahuwah. I submit myself to you continually. I pray that you would use me continually. I pray that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart would be acceptable in thy sight continually. Yahuwah, I pray healing, deliverance over the people. Pray that you would quicken your people. Yahuwah, I pray for the Gentiles, the grafted in, that you would cause them to remain strong in this Besorah and in Emunah, in Yahusha Hamashiach and his witness. Yahuwah, I give you praise for all that you are and all that you do. I thank you for Yahusha Hamashiach, my King, my kinsman, redeemer, my soon avenger. Yahuwah, I give you praise for his Besorah of truth. I praise you for his sacrifice. I praise you for what he means. Yahuwah, I give you praise. In the name of Yahusha Mashiach. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness. Woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made. Listen, this thing is real. I pray that the words of Yahuwah would be made alive in you. That you would be quickened to do that which he's called you to do. Listen, with that I say this day, shalom, 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 hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.